Welcome to the morning meeting, everybody.
Right.
Or should I say the whenever you decide to show up meeting.
I said the hip, hop, the hippie, hip, hip, hop, and you don't stop the rocket to the bang, bang, boogie, say, up, the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat. Now what the hell is to the twist, I'm ripping to the beat. I'm here, the groove, and my friends are gonna try to move your feet. See, I am Wonder Man, and I'd like to say hello. I do the black, to the white, the red, and the blue, the purple, and yellow. But first I gotta bang, bang, the boogie to the boogie, say, up, the boogie to the bang, bang, boogie.
Episode 128 of Writer Radio. What's up? How are you? All right. Things turning red when I talk. Like I'm talking too loud. You talking too loud? Mic too loud? Seems all right. Seem fine. Got a message today asking if all the music on the show would be Ozzy. No. Here's how I know it's not going to be Ozzy. I don't believe I've ever intentionally played a song by Ozzy Osbourne in my life. I'm not saying he hasn't been a part of it. I saw him live. I went to a concert, not specifically for him, but because Alice in Chains was opening and because I thought, you should see Ozzy. You know, one of those things. Like, I felt like I was fulfilling a requirement as a fan of music to see the Prince of Darkness or whatever. I never disliked Ozzy. I just never liked Ozzy. And so I'm not going to play. My favorite Ozzy is War Pigs by Faith No More. Just like my favorite Springsteen album is Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf. Like, I don't know, not for me. And I've come to like Springsteen a lot more, but like Ozzy, no. I didn't like the TV show when that was like his revival, the Osbournes on TV. I didn't like it. I get that he'll be missed. I get that he's much respected. I get that a lot of things happened because of him. There was a lot of imitation of what he did. Black Sabbath. I've never listened to Black Sabbath on purpose. I've never listened to Black Sabbath on purpose because I don't like the singer's voice. I feel bad. I'm not supposed to say this today, but I'm saying it today. Just not a massive fan. Not cool. And I was curious to hear. Like, he's 76 years old, and I remember the movie The Decline of the Western Civilization Part 2, The Metal Years. The Penelope Spheris directed documentary from, good God, what year would that have been? Maybe 88, something like that. I should look that up. I should look things up and then talk about them. What did I just say? Oh, Decline of Western Civ Part 2. What year did it come out? Chronicles the late 80s. Yeah, 1988. All right. Documentary directed by Penelope Spheris. Filmed between August 87 and February 88. Chronicles the late 80s LA heavy metal scene. It's the second film of a trilogy by Spheris. First one was the punk one, which I've never seen. That was from 81. And then there was a part 3 in 98, which is about the gutter punk lifestyle of homeless teenagers in the late 90s. I might want to watch that one. But Ozzy is featured in this. They have a lot of very famous people. Lemmy from Motorhead, Steven Tyler and Joe Perry from Aerosmith, Alice Cooper's in it, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley are both in it from Kiss, Dave Mustaine is in it from Megadeth. I want to say Marty Friedman is in it too from Megadeth, Chris Holmes from Wasp. The most notorious, if you know anything about this movie, if you know nothing about this movie, you need to see it. If you know anything about this movie, it's the one where Chris Holmes is floating in like a pool lawn chair while drinking vodka, while his mom not cries, but just stares at him on the side, where he's talking about what a mess he is. And that's kind of what it's known for. But also in it, there are a bunch of up-and-coming bands, none of whom ever became massive successes. I'm sure some of the individuals in the movie became a thing. But there's a band called Odin. There's a band called Seduce. There's a band called London. Faster Pussycat was in it as kind of the halfway between the unknowns and the knowns in that. They're probably the biggest of the bands that were kind of featured. And it ends with a Megadeth performance that's awesome of In My Darkest Hour, which is super cool. Actually, it ends. The closing credits are Under My Wheels with Guns N' Roses and Alice Cooper, and that's awesome too. The movie is totally worth seeing. It's awesome. But in that movie, in 1988, so I'm 14 years old when it comes out, probably 15 when I see it, because I didn't go to a theater at age 13 or 14 to go check out this movie. Whenever it came around, I have it on VHS somewhere, like a recorded copy. So it must have just been on HBO during a free preview weekend or something. I don't know how I have it, but I saw it a million times. And it's one of those things, you might have never heard of it, and I know the words. Like, it's to a documentary that I watched when I was 14 or whatever. But even back then, Ozzy was a disaster. If you would have told anyone watching the film, watching him try to pour orange juice, it's him in his kitchen, and it's just there's a footage of him just missing a glass with orange juice. And that was in 1988. So congratulations on living that lifestyle, being that influential, and lasting until 2025. That's impressive. It's impressive. The story is, and I had not looked this up until just before coming on, that he did have health issues. So like they did a reunion kind of Sabbath show thing. It was a big deal. Raised like $191 million on July 5th. And it was billed as Ozzy's last show. I don't know if they knew in the moment that it's like, no, Ozzy's last show needs to happen now because it's winding down for him. But it is, I will say, cool that he was able to get that one in, that everybody came together. Tom Morello was like the musical director for it. He's the guitarist from Rage Against the Machine. And they did this whole kind of tribute. It felt like a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame type of concert. There are all kinds of, I didn't see the concert like start to finish, but I keep seeing different clips of different videos, different like combo platters of bands put together, little all-star bands jamming out on Sabbath tunes. It's very cool. Like, I like that better than I like Sabbath in and of itself, in large part because I just didn't love Ozzy as a frontman. When I saw him, I mean, so 1988, I saw him in that movie. Again, I probably saw it in 89, but still. I saw the depiction of Ozzy Osbourne from 87 to 88 in that movie, and I thought, this isn't going to be lasting for very long. And then I saw him live, it turns out, November 5th, 1992, in a concert that I was recently talking about, maybe on the show, maybe elsewhere. It was Ozzy, Alice in Chains before Ozzy. It was the No More Tears. It was the No More Tours tour. But the album was No More Tears. It's 1992. Late era Ozzy still putting stuff out. Mama, I'm Coming Home. What was the other big one from that? Oh, No More Tears. That was a song. He does not appear to have played No More Tears at the No More Tours tour. I'm looking at a set list. Paranoid, Don't Want to Change the World. I don't need to read it all to you. Yeah, he didn't play No More Tears at No More Tours. That's funny. But that was a show. Sepultura was supposed to open, and we were driving back from Geneseo because we had tickets for the show, me and my buddy Derek. And I assume my buddy Sean went with us too, but he didn't live in Geneseo, so we probably came back and met up with him. But on the way back, I remember where I was on Route 63, heading north on 63 toward 77 or toward Broadway. What's this? Don't call me now. Suspected spam caller. I don't answer suspected spam callers. Stop it. We were heading back and we were listening to the radio, and it was probably like 103.3 The Fox at that time. And they informed us that Sepultura wouldn't be playing. And we were like, oh no, not Sepultura. I mean, I don't, Dead Embryonic Cells is the only thing I remember from Sepultura. I know that's the name of a song or an album or something. But I did not need to see Sepultura live. I was fine without it. I know they're interesting. I know my buddy Dan Sontag loved Sepultura. But I didn't care about them, especially when they said Sepultura's not playing because the singer's sick or whatever it was. And then they announced that the time would be filled by Alice in Chains extending their set. So we got bonus AIC right as they were becoming massive. I mean, it was the dirt tour for them. I had already seen Alice in Chains once when they overpowered Van Halen on the Unlawful Carnal Knowledge tour a couple of years, maybe a year earlier. They came in, they played like 5 or 6 songs, that was it, but they were awesome, and I'm positive only me and Sean got it and cared. And Derek, I'm sure, but I don't think I was with Derek at that show. And then they come back around, and now it's the Dirt Tour. Now they've gotten infinitely better. The leap from Facelift to Dirt for Alice in Chains is unbelievable. And so now we need to see him. And you need to do it quickly because Lane's going to die too. He's a mess. Everybody on the stage was a mess, but the show was great. Alice in Chains was incredible. And then Ozzy, what I remember is that he looked like a little old man and he kept jumping around like a frog. And that's my lasting memory of Ozzy Osbourne. The only time I saw him live, he was old and jumping like a frog. He could not outdo a heroin addict in a wheelchair, which was Lane Staley. Lane Staley had a broken leg at the time. He's in a wheelchair. He's singing songs like Godsmack and hitting his arm with his microphone like he's spiking a vein. It was bad, but it was good. I mean, artistically, it was awesome. It was not a happy scene, but it was something at the odd. So the only time I saw Ozzy, his band was, he had Zakk Wylde with him, who was incredible on guitar, but I don't know, man. Like, I like Paranoid. It's decent. It's a fun song. I Don't Want to Change the World, I didn't like. Desire, don't care. Mr. Crowley, no. I Don't Know, I like that song. Road to Nowhere, Flying High Again, not really. Suicide Solution, kind of. Goodbye to Romance is all right. I'm reading through the set list from 1992. Shot in the Dark stinks. Miracle Man, I don't think I know. They did do War Pigs. That's the best possible scenario there. That worked out fine. Bark at the Moon, Iron Man, no thanks. Mama, I'm Coming Home, and Crazy Train, which is pretty fun. But that's the set list. But they got blown away by Alice in Chains. So I'm not going to play any Ozzy today because I don't like it. But I do have respect for this dude who has been a scary, he was a scary figure in my life from the time I learned of him, right? You know, Sabbath exists. That sounds Black Sabbath. I'm going to church at the time. People are trying to talk me into that stuff constantly. And then there's this other devil thing, Prince of Darkness going on that, I respect that it was scary. I remember my cousin Rick must have been Blizzard of Oz, one of the first couple of him, and he just looked like a crazy person on the cover. I was like, I don't know about this guy. I didn't want to listen to it. It was just kind of scary to me. And then by the time he kind of mellowed out and became palatable, I realized I just didn't like the music. But back to his death and his sickness, the story here from the New York Post, published today, just 2 hours ago. Good. Ozzy went through absolute hell dealing with multiple health issues before his death. Died Tuesday. He said less than 2 years ago that he was struggling with his Parkinson's diagnosis and other ailments. I didn't even know about that. He said, it's been 5 years of absolute hell for me and the family. This was on Piers Morgan Uncensored in September 2023. So I think those two were in a band together, right? Didn't they have some sort of a collab? Piers Morgan and Ozzy Osbourne. He says, my family's been so supportive. Couldn't have done it without them. It's been a really bad scene. He said, I have Parkinson's, but I never think about it. Jack Osbourne, his son, was by his dad's side for the interview along with mom Sharon and sister Kelly. And we all kind of know this. Not we all. I kind of know this family from that Osbourne's TV show that I didn't really even watch. It was a phenomenon. It was very early in reality TV. Like, Ozzy's a pioneer or was around a lot of pioneering things. Whether he was the mastermind behind it or not, he was standing there at a lot of important media type of moments. They told Piers Morgan the biggest misconception about his condition is that Parkinson's was his only health challenge. It's really the neck injury and the fall that he took. In 2019, the Prince of Darkness fell and suffered a major neck injury that required surgery. He previously hurt his neck in 2000 during a bike crash. He says, I just got up and carried on, but I had broken my neck, and I carried on working with it until I had that fall, and then just everything came undone. He declared at the time he was done going under the knife. His wife, Sharon, 72, chimed in to open up about how her husband's health was affecting her. She said, it changes your whole life. Suddenly you're off in another direction. Your life changes so drastically. It's really hard. For the last 5 years, our life has changed dramatically. But on the other hand, it's great that I've had Ozzy at home for 5 years. He's driving me crazy, but we've been together every day for 5 years. Diagnosed with Parkinson's 22 years ago, didn't announce it or discuss it publicly until 2020. Canceled his 2023 tour 3 months before it was scheduled to kick off. And he later that year said he had at best 10 years left to live, which is, I mean, at age 70-something, saying, yeah, I'm thinking at best I got 10 years. That's not crazy, especially when you think it's Ozzy, who lived the way Ozzy lived, and Parkinson's, and falling, and motorcycle crashes. It's a pretty good run. He performed for the final time at Black Sabbath's Back to the Beginning farewell concert, which took place 2 weeks ago on July 5th. He couldn't walk on his own anymore. He sat on stage in a black leather chair performing for 42,000 people, sang 5 songs by himself before being joined by bandmates Tony Iommi, Bill Ward, and Geezer Butler for 4 Sabbath songs. His family confirmed his passing in a statement on Tuesday. So that's what we've got. I'm not going to dwell too much on Ozzy just because I didn't like the songs. I think he's cool. I like what he's done. I have respect. But I'm not going to hang out and play a bunch of Sabbath stuff or a bunch of Ozzy stuff today because I don't like it. Message came in. Well, one said answer it to the spam call. I'm not answering spam calls during the show, man. Saw Ozzy on his Retirement Sucks tour in 96. Also saw his sound check, which was pretty cool because there were less than 20 people in War Memorial Rochester Auditorium for it. Yeah, it's cool. I prefer to say that I've seen every band. Like, I always check that off the list. There are a few that I've missed. Like, I've never seen the Stones, and I'm okay with it. I've never seen U2, and I'm okay with it. But generally speaking, like, you want to check it off, even if I don't love. I was talking yesterday with JD from Toronto about seeing REO Speedwagon. I'm glad I saw REO Speedwagon. I'm glad I saw the Northern Pikes. I wish I kept a list of every band I'd ever seen. It's way too late for that. But I wish I'd done it because that would be cool. There's a lot of little things in there that are missing. Like even yesterday, I said that I saw Max Webster. I did not see Max Webster. I saw Kim Mitchell. And I thought, hey, maybe because this is the Friendship Festival, Geddy Lee will show up and it'll become Max Webster. And it did not. Because I told him I saw it. He's like, really? And I was like, yeah. No, I looked that one up. That was false. Fact-checking myself. I was wrong on that. But I've seen Rush a bunch of times. So I've seen Max Webster just separately. Saw a lot of Rush. I saw Kim Mitchell once. Glad I did. Didn't love it, but it was cool. He's got 5 songs I like. Anything like that. I tried to go see Eddie Money. This is the most ridiculous thing. I can't believe I'm still friends with all these people. Summer 1995. I lived in Montauk, New York, eastern tip of Long Island. We lived in this dumpy, old, beat-up motel called the Rod and Reel. They let us live there for free in order to work at this chain of restaurants. Sounds crazy. Everyone who worked there was from one of 3 places. It was either Ireland, Puerto Rico, or Geneseo. All the summer help from those 3 places because we just kept, I don't know how it started, but people just kept recruiting. And I would not be surprised if you went to Gosman's Dock right now, if it was loaded up with people from Geneseo and people from Puerto Rico and people from Ireland. Because it's probably still going. And that was 30 years ago. And I bet we're still just cycling through those same people. So anyway, we lived in this dump. And every night was the same. Here was the work schedule. It was glad I did it. It was horrible, but glad I did it. It was, you would work. So how many days are there in a week? 7, right. 7 days in a week, you worked 5.5 days. And by 5 full days, like morning till close, like, I don't know if it was 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., something like that. That was your shift, 5 of the days. One of the days you got cut loose at like 4. And if you were the person who got cut loose, it was your job to go into town, buy 2 cases of Bush Pounders. That's what we were drinking at the time, big bottles of Bush beer, and get ice. And then we didn't even have a cooler. We had a garbage can. So you would get out of work at, let's say, 9 o'clock and walk across a little stretch of beach to get back to our gross, just absolutely disgusting, I'm sure demolished by now, old motel called the Rod and Reel. And there were 7 of us who lived in this place. It was like it was a dump, man. It was such a dump. It was so gross. But if you got out early, it was your job to get the beer. And then when everybody else got out, We would sit around and typically listen to music, play Uno, and drink the beer till it was gone. And then we would go to the same bar every time, the Dancing Crab, which the highlight was, I believe, Wednesday night was Gong Show Karaoke. Again, everyone in town is Irish, Puerto Rican, or Geneseo. There was a lot of Irish kids together, line dancing, not line dancing, but like kick line, thinking they're the Rockettes, singing New York, New York. That would happen every single Wednesday. And there are always 3 judges, the way Gong Show Karaoke Night works. We should bring that back. That's an idea for Writer Radio. Writer Radio, Gong Show Karaoke. They had a keg hanging from the ceiling and 3 judges with an aluminum bat. And that was the gong. As soon as you were a disaster, gong, 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 and then you were gone, gone, gone. Music shuts off, you're out. And there were winners, too. You could win contests. I think I won once. I think I won karaoke. Probably doing Love Shack, because that's kind of my thing. What was my point? Oh, every night we did the same thing. Every day was the same. Wake up, work, sweat, come out, you're gross, you smell like fish and salt and sweat and whatever. And then sit around and drink beer and play Uno and then go to the bar and then come back and then sleep and then get up and do it again. And you got 1.5 of those days off. Like you could, let's say you worked Monday through Friday and then you got a half day Saturday and then day off on Sunday. And I don't know that anybody got the day off on the weekends, but whatever it was. Oh, I'm working half day Monday and off Wednesday, and that would be your week. The rest of the time, you're just sweating at a clam bar. And there was a night when Eddie Money was playing at the other bar. There's really one other bar in Montauk at the time. It was the Tipperary. It was an Irish pub. And we got word that Eddie Money was going to be playing there, and it cost $5 to get in. And I could not find a single person to go with me to watch Eddie Money. Now, he's dead. I haven't seen Eddie Money. I don't love Eddie Money. But if Eddie Money comes to your remote resort town where you are stuck slaving over clams for the entire summer, you spend the $5 and walk to the next bar and go see Eddie Money. I'm still mad at my friends for not letting me see Eddie Money, and I'm mad at myself for, at the time, not being independent enough to be like, all right, well, I'm going to see Eddie Money now. Bye. Why did I not do that? I mean, that's on me. I go to concerts by myself all the time now. If I don't have somebody else that wants to go, I'll just go. Who cares? I'm probably going to run into somebody I know, and it's probably going to be Bad Ronald. But I'm going to see somebody that I know, or I won't, and I'll just see the band, and it'll be fine. And I didn't do that, and I'm still mad about it. But my point is, I'm glad I saw Ozzy. I wish I saw Eddie Money. I'm glad I saw Kim Mitchell. I don't love any of them, but I could check them off. This is how I've been talking for 22 straight minutes with nothing in front of me. This is how I have this, I don't know, basis of stupid information in my head about dates and times and tours and shows and who played with whom and when I saw them and who I saw them with. That's like my favorite thing. My favorite thing is knowing that all this stuff in the world that exists, and I've touched as much of it as I can. I love knowing. I love at times. It doesn't happen often, but I'll talk to somebody who, I've known for 10 years and has no idea that I've done a radio show or that I've been in like media stuff. Oh, really? What did you do? And then just you start rattling through things, and it's awesome. I mean, it's so cool to talk about the time I accidentally bumped into Wayne Gretzky. Like, whoops. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, great one. I didn't say great one. Or the time that Bulldog and I saw, embarrassingly, Ray Bork in a stupid yellow Bruins jersey and with the dumb, like, Grateful Dead type of bear on it. It was like a third jersey at the time. And his pants and socks around his ankles. It's like, you're the great Ray Bork. He had not yet gone on to win a cup with Colorado. He was still in Boston. It was right around the time that he was about to get traded there. And he was getting interviewed in the hallway at the arena with his pants around his ankles. And it was like, but you're Ray Bork. And, I've got stuff like that in my head, and that's what, I don't know, that's what I find interesting. That's the stuff I like to talk about. That's the stuff I like to think about. And, just checking every box. I want to see every band. I want to see every team. I want to see every sport. I want to go to a boxing match. I want to go to I want to go to a NASCAR race. I haven't been to a NASCAR race. I want to do that at some point. I did some like Formula One stuff a couple years ago. That was kind of cool. But NASCAR, like that would be awesome. Right now, my biggest experience with NASCAR is I saw the NASCAR 3D movie at IMAX, and I felt like I went to a race. But I like checking boxes off. And, it's kind of the trend now, right? People want experiences, not things. The younger generation than me, that's what people are going for. I'm 50, and I still feel that. I want to experience stuff. So this is not me, haha, Ozzy's dead. That's sad. But he had a really good run, and I'm glad I got to see him in concert, even though I didn't love his music. Although War Pigs by Faith No More is fantastic. My buddy Josh Gregory is our senior music correspondent. He's going to join me about 11:30 to kick around some Ozzy thoughts and just music thoughts in general. He is our senior music correspondent after all. But he had an idea at one point about, it's like, we should do a thing about cover songs that are better than the original. And I liked the idea, but I couldn't even think of one until today when I put on War Pigs by Faith No More. And then I thought, I should text Josh and get him on the show. So he's going to come on at 11:30. 11 o'clock today, I'm going to talk with my buddy Dave Dombowski. He's also a musician. He's the guy that hooked me up with Thomas Ian Nicholas, who is the kid from Rookie of the Year and he's not a kid anymore. He's in his 40s, but he's got a band, and he was just in town in Olean and in Rochester, but he was in Buffalo to record something. And I've seen some pictures of that with Steve from Strictly Hip was involved in that. And Joe Nicastro was involved in that. He was in a picture, and Frank Nicastro is his brother, and he's in Strictly Hip. So lots of connections. Anyway, Dave has a charity golf tournament coming up that he's launching. Super cool guy, super interesting dude. I had him on my show to talk about it right before the radio portion of it ended. I had him on, and then like the following week, I had Thomas Ian Nicholas on, or Tom Nicholas, as he calls him, but I don't know. I know him from his credits. And we had a conversation about what he was doing and what he was up to, and Spina Bifida, which is the affliction that is being dealt with this tournament, because Dave got it, and Dave is in the community working to help with research and help with therapy and all this stuff. And we got so caught up in that we never even talked about the charity aspect, like the event, which is going to be awesome. And I keep talking to him about it's getting better and better and better. We never mentioned the date. We never mentioned a website. We never did anything. So I told him we need to get you on again, and we'll do that today at 11 and get caught up on that. We're going to have a foursome that we're going to auction off. It's all they're doing, like charity golf auction thing. Jeremy White is going to be involved as well. He's got a foursome he's auctioning off. I said I don't want to auction off a foursome, like 3 people come play with me. I'm going to bring a friend. We're going to auction off a twosome. So it'll be cheaper than others. But there's going to be an opportunity if you're interested. It's a Monday in, I can't remember if it's September or October, but it's a Monday, and I'm not out of town for UB, and I'm able to play, and I'm going to participate, and I'm going to bring along a friend, and then somebody else, 2 of you, will have the opportunity to bid and contribute to the charity and also partake in this super cool golf tournament. I think Tom Nicholas's band is going to play, so you can meet the dude from Rookie of the Year, which is fun. And lots of other people involved too. There's athletes, of course. You know how this goes. But new charity golf event, and we'll talk about it coming up at 11-ish when my buddy Dave Dombowski joins me. He also is a touring drummer. So like the last time I talked to him, he was in Minnesota for a couple shows. Or Wisconsin or Minnesota. No, Michigan. He was in Michigan. Sorry. Not that you care. Doesn't matter. But he was playing some shows in Michigan. We'll talk about all that stuff with him. We'll just like reset with Dave, but this time we'll actually do the stuff I brought him on to do, which is promote the golf tournament and start to get people excited about this bidding process where you can come out and play with me. It would be a really cool thing if we could raise some money for this charity and then go out and play some golf and probably have a couple beers, I would think. There might be some beer involved. But charity golf tournaments are fun. I have not played in any yet this year, and good to be in the loop on this one to help him in any way possible, promoting it and going out and playing in it and being a part of it and all that stuff. So there's that. That's coming your way as we continue. I'm Brad. It's Writer Radio. We're going to play a song so I can drink some water and then return. It's not going to be Ozzy. I didn't even load up the songs today. That was dumb. Okay, what have I not played from this whole list? All these songs, I think I've played. All right, you know what? This one's mellow, but it's been sitting here. It never feels like the right time to play this because it's so mellow. But I want you to listen to the lyrics, and maybe it will help you appreciate what I appreciate about Joe Jackson, who is a musical god to me. This song is called Love at First Light. Not at first sight, at first light. Like, hey, we were drinking last night, and we just woke up, and I think I like you, kind of deal. Check it out. I'm going to play this one, probably one more, and then be back. Again, Dave Dombowski joins me just after 11. Josh Gregory just after 11:30. We'll talk. I'm sure we'll talk Ozzy with Dave, too. Dave's a musician. He's a drummer. He's going to have thoughts. We'll get to it. Thank you for tuning in, for sharing, and for being a part of episode 128 of Writer Radio. Writer Radio episode 128. 28 of the digital-only version, available at writerradio.com. I'm almost to the point where the website's going to start converting to be everything that I need it to be. I know I keep saying things like that, but you wouldn't believe the tiny little things that take forever to fix in order to get this thing fully functional. I'm at a point now where every day when I turn on the equipment, it works. So that's good. Like, I've got the wiring figured out. Sometimes I have to move stuff around. I'll remove my little audio interface thing to go record an interview somewhere, to do something else with it. And then I got to put it back together and get it right. And you don't know till you try to go live if you're going to be able to go live the way you want to go live. All right, we just heard 3 really good songs there. None of which probably fit with what you're expecting to hear at 10:45 in the morning on Writer Radio. We get a little heavier than that more often than not. But Love at First Light is a Joe Jackson song I love. And then I played Operator by Jim Croce, and then Streetlights by Jason Isbell. Let's think about Jim Croce. First of all, can you picture Jim Croce? Jim Croce, a singer-songwriter, folksy, just looked like he was smoking all the time, whether he had a cigarette or not, just looked like John Oates. Okay, but like a dirtier John Oates of Hall & Oates fame. Just had that vibe. And I've got one of his albums, and it's just his face, and there was one point where it was stuck in my little record. Before I built my upright record-holding device to make it more like I'm in a record store when I'm in my house. So you're looking at the fronts instead of the spines, alphabetized, that whole thing. Before I did that, I had this like store-bought thing, and at one point, the Jim Croce record got stuck in it. Like, I had cleared everything out of it and moved it to a new shelf I had built, except I didn't notice Jim Croce was in there. And then the one day, I just saw him peering out at me through the glass. Like, he was stuck to the side. Picture the inside of a cabinet, but with the glass window on the door. It was just Jim, like, looking at me. Like, whoa, look at this guy. Creep. His songs are awesome. His lyrics are awesome. Living in L.A. with my best old ex-friend Ray is one of my favorite lyrics of all time. And that was in Operator. So anyway, I started thinking about him and Ozzy. They were kind of contemporaries. But that's the thing about death. Once you're dead, you stop making music, unless you're Prince or Tupac. And he died in 1973. He's born in 43. Died in 73. I'm born in 74. He was dead before I was alive. I still love his music. But and Ozzy's born in 48. So they're contemporaries. They're 5 years apart. Like, they put out Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. Like, I think that's 73. And that's when Jim Croce died. So Jim Croce was a 30-year-old musician when Ozzy Osbourne was a 34 or 35-year-old musician. In 1973, when Jim Croce died. And then Ozzy died yesterday. So Jim Croce alive, then me alive, then Ozzy dead yesterday. So like my whole life, Ozzy's been a musician, and my whole life, Jim Croce's dead. And they're like the same, but that's just what happens with death and time. And it struck me as interesting. Also interesting, Ozzy's name is John. Let's That's just John Osbourne, which I guess might explain Jack being Jack, his son. But yeah, he's John Michael Osbourne, called Ozzy because his last name is Osbourne. I get where that comes from. I looked back at the Alice in Chains set list from November 5th, 1992, and I was right. 11 songs, and it was awesome. Open with Damn That River, We Die Young, Them Bones, Wood, Junkhead, Godsmack, Put You Down, Sick Man, It Ain't Like That, Angry Chair, Man in the Box, blew Ozzy away that day. And I apologize in the wake of Ozzy Osbourne's death to be talking about how the only time I saw him in concert, his band was by far the second best band. And that's not who... Well, I shouldn't say that's not who the majority of people were there to see. Me and all my friends were there to see AIC because Dirt had come out, and we were obsessed with it. But certainly when they opened for Van Halen, people were not there to see them. It was just me and a couple of my friends. People talked about how awful they were because Lane Staley stood perfectly still the entire time with a white hooded, I want to say sweatshirt, but it was like a windbreaker and sunglasses, and he just stood there with his two hands on the mic and kicked ass, but did so without like performing. He didn't dance for you. But that's because he was on drugs. And that became very clear the next time when he was shirtless and in a wheelchair and stabbing himself with a microphone while performing the song Godsmack, which was the 6th song of the 11-song set, right in the middle. Great show. Baseball update. This is a week of championship games, which is exciting unless you lose them all. My little league teams, I say mine like I play on them, I don't, but the ones that I'm following, the ones that I'm sharing with you, perfect encapsulation of Western New York teams. In the same way that once I abandoned the New York Mets because I got mad at Frank Cashin for trading both Wally Backman and Lenny Dykstra, but I still loved Dwight Gooden. So I followed them until he was gone. And then once he traveled around to different teams, I would root for them. I rooted for the Yankees in 96. I was rooting for the Indians when he was there. I liked Dwight Gooden. And then once that was over, I needed to find a baseball team. And it was very easy at the time for a Bills and Sabres fan to gravitate toward the team that hadn't won in forever in the Boston Red Sox. And so I found myself rooting for the Red Sox, and it was in part because they never win. And then once they started winning, then their fans became just as annoying as Yankee fans, and then I kind of jumped off. I mean, given a choice between do I want the Yankees or Red Sox to win a game at any time, which one do I prefer win a World Series? It's still Boston, but I just don't care. I don't profess to be a fan of any particular baseball team, aside from the ones my kids play on. And man, do they fit right into, because we have been to 2 championship games, and we have come away with 2 losses in championship games. 2 hard-fought, controversial, need a ruling from the league on this play type of stuff both times. Yesterday, 9-1 lead and lost, I think, 10-9, or maybe 11-10, but it was 9-1 lead in the second inning and lost in extra innings, controversially. So that team finishes in second. That's Nate's team, the 10U team. And then Drew's team, same thing. Won their massive playoff game against a team that always beats them. It was basically the Red Sox beating the Yankees in the 04 ALCS, but then losing to the Cardinals. It was kind of that. So, yeah, both teams, I think both teams lost by 1 in the championship game. So those seasons are over. And there are 2 games left in the I shouldn't say regular season, but in house baseball. 2 championship games tonight. So yesterday we went 0-1. I did not eat a hot dog. Snack stand wasn't even open, or I would have. On Grand Island. 56 wins, 27 losses, 3 ties, 16 hot dogs so far. Tonight is doubleheader. Tonight is 10U championship game, which is Drew, and 12U championship game, which is Nate. When I get done with this, I'm making a lineup. I'm already making phone calls about pitching rotation. And rotation's wrong, because you know what I mean. But pitching plan. Like, what are we doing here? We're going to need to throw some strikes and go win this game. We're the 2 seed, but the 1 seed is out, so we're the home team. And I feel good. We're the home team in both. We're the 1 seed in the other one. So the expectation would be, Vegas would say, that as of tomorrow, I'm talking about 2 championships. One of which I would bring the trophy home. Like, I'm the head coach. I get the trophy. I've got a basketball trophy sitting on my fridge over there. So that's what we're looking for tonight. But yeah, 0-1, lost the championship game last night. Devastating championship game. That season is complete. Then there's 2 championship games tonight, 2 all-star games tomorrow. I won't count those. Maybe I'll count the hot dogs, but as far as winning and losing, doesn't matter. And then my youngest son is playing in a sort of one-off tournament with some of his friends over the weekend, but I'm not going to count those games. So we're wrapping up. All this stuff I've been talking about kind of ends today, which is allowing me to say yes to people who say, hey, do you want to get lunch soon? Or do you want to go out for a beer soon? Like, maybe. I mean, there will be tryouts within the next 2 weeks for next year. And practice will resume, kind of, but it's not going to be this intense type of schedule. It'll be once a week, if at all, and probably like a month off before that kicks in. Granted, that means UB football is about to start. So that's going to take over my life a little bit. Does not change the fact that we're going to do this show live, 10 to noon, Monday through Friday. It's going to get adventurous, too, because there will be times, especially late in the football season, where there's like midweek action, and Scott and I are just hanging out in a hotel room somewhere in Ohio or Michigan or whatever, and we're coming at you from there. Lots of adventure and lots of extra people to talk to. How have I not had Pete Lembo on the show yet? I'm going to have to do that very soon. UB football coach Pete Lembo is a guy who got everyone at UB very excited about the program again after 3 years of just being in an abyss. Things turned around tremendously last year, and I and everyone I know who cares about this program is very excited about where this thing is headed this year. Only 5 road games, so 7 home, 5 road. Everything on the schedule looks winnable. I'm not saying 12-0, but I'm saying you're going into Minnesota. That's a big, winnable Big Ten game. Home game is against Troy. They're picked like 6th or 7th in their conference, and we've seen them before. That is interesting. Got an FCS opponent. Got an early game against Kent State, who might be the worst team in the country. UB could get off to a pretty hot start, and when that happens, you will hear my excitement. It will be palpable. Not to mention the fact that several of my regular guests are also affiliated with UB football, so Scott and I will do a regular UB podcast once a week in addition to this thing. Or maybe it'll just be a segment on this. I'm not sure yet. We've got that. Paul comes on a lot. He's the play-by-play guy. John Fuller works there. He comes on a lot. So that's coming. Baseball wrapping up. Football is coming. Bills camp. So yesterday, Bob Gaughan's on, and he starts talking about the Bills in training camp and being on Hard Knocks this year. I was like, yeah, when is that? It's got to be soon. He's like, it's now. It's like now. Now? Yeah, now. I was in the car today, which is nice. I didn't just roll over and turn on the microphone. I like having a little bit of adventure prior to the show beginning, so I've got something to discuss. And there were a couple things I picked up on, but I took my kid to flag football. And I walked in, and the first thing I saw was a kid get hit in the face with a football, and I started laughing, and then I realized, why I can't be a counselor. Because I turned to the girls who work as counselors. There's a guy out there, and he's just throwing it up as the kids are warming up. There's like 10 kids out there. It's like, all right, this one's worth 10 points, and just throws the ball into the crowd. And this kid gets right under it and just completely whiffs, and it hits him right in the face, and he falls down, and it was hilarious. I'm sure he was fine. I don't want him to be hurt, but I do want people to be to continue to get hit in the face with footballs and fall down. Like, don't get hurt, but please do that for my entertainment. I mean, I saw an old guy fall off a bike once. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I felt bad laughing, but it was just slow motion. Oh, it was so good. And, you know, watching people fall down can be fun. I don't mean it in a harsh way. I just mean, like, visceral reaction is like, that's funny. All right, I'm going to read a couple comments. We're going to play a song, then I'm going to talk to Dave Dombowski. What do we have here? Okay. Saw Eddie Money at a free show in Raleigh in 2008 when I lived there. $5 would have been an overpay. Outside of 2 tickets to Paradise, not much there at that time. Yes, I know. But when Eddie Money is playing, there's nothing else going on. Any port in a storm, man. And it was a storm. We were doing the same thing every day. And then Eddie Money showed up, and nobody was like, yeah, let's change it up and go see Eddie Money. And I, like a coward, didn't go by myself, and this is Montauk. Paul Pocono's a good place to see a NASCAR race close to Buffalo and has good sight lines. Noted. Jason Isbell is so good. Only thing that drives me nuts is I've seen him 6 times, and the sets are always very similar. The Hip spoiled me with varied sets every night. I agree. And I said between the Hip and Fish, I'm always looking for crazy stuff every time. I don't need like wholesale changes. Fish, it's like, oh, they played this song yesterday. They're not playing it today. I don't need that necessarily out of every band. I do need it out of Fish. But just a couple, mix it up, throw in a new cover, throw in a different thing. Give me a little twist. I can't resist looking at set lists before going to shows, but I don't want too much revealed to me by looking at that set list. I want a general idea, but then I want to also be surprised. I know. I wanted to have my cake and eat it too, which I've also always had a problem with. Like, what's the point of having a cake if you can't eat it? It's dumb. That's a dumb phrase, and I just used it. Can't wait to hear the Kent State pregame show. Let's go Expos and Giants. That's right. 10U Expos, 12U Giants. Here we go. Brad, anytime your Suns lose, it is a misinterpretation of the rules, controversy, or the umpires. No, not every time. Just lately. This one was bad. I'm not going to get into it because it sounds super petty, but it was awful, and it was disappointing. A lot of tears. There's too many tears in baseball. That whole no crying in baseball thing is garbage. So much crying in baseball. So much. Not me, and not my kids either. My kids are good, but these children cannot keep it together when things start to fall apart. It gets really, when it starts to fall apart, it really falls apart, as someone great once said. We're going to take a quick time out. I got to play a song. I don't have one lined up, but I'll figure something out quickly, and then I'll get on the horn with Dave Dombowski, who's going to tell us about his golf tournament, and we'll probably talk about Ozzy, I would think. I would think that will be a part of it. Is anything here something that I'll play Bare Naked Ladies. I don't care. Yeah, I like this song. Enid. Probably my favorite Bare Naked Ladies song. Episode 128 continues. I'm Brad. We brought Dave Dombrowski back on so that we can actually talk about this stuff. I don't remember how it got away from us last time, Dave. I think I was just so excited to talk to you live for the first time in so long that we just got caught up in things and then said goodbye. And then I was like, oh, we forgot about the golf tournament, which was the reason you were coming on. So I think we're going to start with that, and then we'll go back into whatever. And I want to get your thoughts on Ozzy Osbourne eventually, too.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good. I know it's when you haven't talked to someone in like 10 years, like we haven't. It's just like all these thoughts go in our brains, and we just want to try to play catch up. So it's totally understandable, though.
But you're up to something cool. Yeah. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So I am hosting a golf charity event for the Spina Bifida Clinic at Oishei Hospital. It'll be hosted at Gowanada Country Club this September 29th. It's a Monday. So I believe it's right after the Bills home game against the New Orleans Saints. So as of right now, like all the proceeds will be going to the Spina Bifida Clinic at Oishei Hospital. I also have a merch store up that we just started making some merch, some fleeces, some polos, t-shirts, hats. Same thing. All the proceeds will be going to the hospital. As of right now, we have a car giveaway, which is pretty cool, from a town dealership. And
awesome. That'll
be part of a par 3. We're doing a $10,000 cash prize for a putting contest. So as you're rotating through, hole from around the turn and get your lunch, there'll be a 3-hole putting contest, and all the rules will be in your scorecards and on all that stuff too. So that's super exciting. There's a couple other things we're working on too, so we haven't really been able to announce just yet, just so we get 100% confirmation. But yeah, it's going along really well. And where you guys, everyone can sign up and register is at backtgolfclassic.com.
That's the part we needed. That's the part we just left out completely last time. backtgolfclassic.com. I'm writing that down. I'm going to put that on our site. We're going to make it nice and easy for people. backtgolfclassic.com. So people can sign up now to play. Are you recruiting sponsors? What's the current status of what's going on here?
Yeah, so we right now registration is pretty much going to be open up till the second week of September. When it comes to sponsorships, we're going to keep a few sponsorships open, just like we have the smaller ones, the green and tea signage. We'll keep those up as long as we have to. But everything else is pretty much almost closed. So we're going to try to close it all, lock it in by, mid August here. And we'll just be taking the rest of the foursomes up. We're going to be maxing out at 144 golfers. So that'll be about 36 teams that day.
Awesome. Somebody, Josh, who contributes whenever he can. He's a producer behind the scenes. He just listens and then he types stuff in, but he put the link to this in the chat that's going on right now. So the Back Tee Golf Classic link is in the chat. If you're on the MixLR app and listening and chatting, you can click on that and check it out. And is the merch store available through that as well, or is that in a different place?
That'll be at a different place. That's going to be on my Instagram, which is Dave_Dombowski.
Okay.
That's my personal one, or at Back Tee Golf Classic is the Instagram for the event as well. So I have links at both my personal Instagram and the Instagram for the Back Tee Golf Classic, which has, again, the links for the registration and for the merch store.
Okay. Awesome.
And how we came up with the theme for that is, obviously with the back and, spina bifida, that's where the main root of the causes in the woman's womb. And we just figured every golf outing has a theme. So we thought, you know what, why don't we have everyone with a scramble play from the back tees, because, life's tough sometimes and we don't get a lot of choices. So I thought it'd be a little bit more challenging and something more fun to do, like a tournament where everyone's going to play from the back tees. So I think that's just going to bring a different element to this golf tournament. And women, they'll just be playing from their, from the reds to the whites, just a little bit further as well. So that's kind of how we came up with the theme too, just to kind of run something different here too.
Yeah, that's what I need, man. I need golf to be more challenging because it's not a tough enough game to play anyway. I was hoping to add an extra 1,000 yards or something to the day.
Yeah,
but that's the beauty of Scramble. That's the beauty of Scramble. That's
Yeah.
why I'm recruiting somebody good to play with me.
Well, that's the thing, right? Scramble is a strategy. You got someone that can hit the long ball and someone with a short game, someone that can putt, right? So, and Gowanada is honestly not. I think we mapped it out. Like from the blues, it's only 6,500, so it's not even more than like 1,000 or 2 from the whites. So it's not really that much of a gap of difference to make it too much harder. So,
all right, I like it. Hey, this might be weird. Can you describe in 2 minutes? What spina bifida is for people who do not know? I think everyone's heard the term. I don't know specifically. I don't know that I know people who have been afflicted aside from you. Like it's a term that's always been in my life. And yeah, I could have looked it up, but you've lived it.
Sure.
Tell me a bit about what people go through once they are diagnosed.
So yeah, I think this is what makes the awareness pretty difficult and people to fully understand, because they call it the snowflake disability, which basically means that it can really range from very mild to very severe of complications and problems. But the main root of it is it starts in the womb, where your spine is basically open. And for I was born in '86, so back then they didn't really have that much of technology to fix that type of issue. In the last 10 years, they've been able to come up with a device that's able to at least put the spine, close the spine in the womb before the baby's born, to give them kind of the baby an opportunity to rejuvenate some of those nerves. So, so when the baby is born, they're born with an open spine there, and there can be multiple issues because it can cause from, it's spinal injuries and paralyzation and losing complete feeling, complete bowel movement, all of it, so again, that's why they call it the snowflake effect, because it's just really different to everybody. So again, it can be as severe as someone being wheelchair bound, not having any feelings, really needs a lot of help, or like I said, for myself, I was really lucky where they were able to close my spine pretty quickly. I lost nerve damage mid-calf down, so I can't really develop full calf muscle. So that for my story, specifically me, like that's where it really affected me the most.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much the nuts and bolts of it. It all comes from the beginning in the womb, in this from, and they don't really know what the causes is either. I don't know. They've done research on, if it's a diet thing with women or whatnot. I can only speak from my experiences. Like my mom's kind of a health nut. So she doesn't drink, she doesn't smoke, none of that. Very healthy, always worked out. So I just think it's one of those, it's kind of like freak things that it just happens like one out of, 5 families or something of that nature. Of again, I haven't really looked at the specific details of what the ratio is of the birth rating lately, but that's something I'm trying to catch up with now, with especially putting this event on for Oishei Hospital.
Well, and this also explains obviously the relationship between a children's hospital, because we're talking about something that happens obviously very early or even pre-birth. And obviously there's a lot of research to be done, but a lot of development has happened. So very cool of you to step into this and try to help and do it in the most fun way possible, which is golf tournament. You can't do better than charity golf tournaments. I've never been to one that I disliked. They're always great. They're always helpful. They're always super fun, and just you feel good because you do something that you enjoy. But it's also for a good cause. So I'm very excited about that. Let's jump into music with you. And again, thanks to Josh, who put the link in for your Instagram also. So both of those are in there, and now I can snag those and put those on the website and all that stuff. So very cool. Looking forward to that. And again, I mentioned there's going to be the opportunity to be a part of an auction to play in the tournament with celebrities of varying degree, and I'll be at the bottom tier of that, but you can perhaps get in and contribute and come hang out, and we'll have a good time. You can meet Dave. You can probably meet. We'll see. I'm not going to throw any names out there because I don't want to overpromise. But I've heard some good names about people who are possibly going to be there, and I'm not going to talk about them while you're here because then it sounds like you're endorsing it. If I just speculate mindlessly like I do about everything else, it's fine. All right, music. Your background. You are a drummer. You professionally tour as a drummer. And I don't know, I'm interested to know your musical influences. When I met you, you were in a band that power pop, is that right? Like, what would you call what you were with Jettison, and what is your background, and what do you love, and what's your relationship with Ozzy Osbourne?
Yeah. So, when we met back then, that genre at that era was more like they call it like the emo pop punk scene. Yeah. But I would say like our band was definitely influenced by that scene. But we were more kind of contemporary pop rock, something along the lines of like a Lifehouse back in the day. Sure. But my influences really stem from, honestly, it's funny with, you mentioned with Ozzy, and, I was definitely a big 80s rock guy. I honestly, Tommy Lee was probably a huge influence. Okay. Kiss and Motley Crue were my first concert, and I think that was where I really got my first itch of music. And it just kind of, I think maybe that's why I was so intrigued in the whole live performance, and just because those guys put on like the craziest live show with the fireworks and the stage rising, and
it's a circus.
It's a circuit. Yeah. Well, music is supposed to be entertaining, right? So they were the kings of that. So I was definitely heavily influenced in the whole 80s glamour rock, and that whole Sunset Boulevard scene. Loud big drums. I think I was just really heavy influenced into that as a kid. But then, as you get older and when I was in the scenes, you just kind of start adapting to different scenes. So by high school, Travis Barker was, a heavy influence too, because when he came into the scene in Blink 182, and then there's so but basically those the 80s, that 80s rock guys, up until like the pop punk scene guys were really kind of my go-to guys. But I still had influence too with John Bonham and Neil Peart of Rush. Those guys are iconic as well. Even Buddy Rich from the jazz days. So I definitely tried taking influence from every era possible, because they all influenced each other in some way and made it their own style. So that's the best you can. That's the thing you can hope for, is you can try to take as many influences as possible and still be creative in your own liking, and be true to yourself.
Right. And so you telling me your first show is Kiss and Motley Crue makes it not out of bounds to say What'd you think of Ozzy? What'd you think of Black Sabbath? Because I'm gonna tell you right now what I've already said. I was never a huge fan. I saw him live once. I'm glad I did. I like checking that box. But my buddy was like, "Are you gonna play nothing but Ozzy today?" I've never owned any Ozzy. I've never owned any Sabbath. I played War Pigs, the Faith No More cover of it because I love that.
Sure.
And there are bits and pieces of it I like. But to think about the icon, I mean, he did. Like they were putting stuff out in 1968. I'm born in 74. My entire lifetime, he has been an influential part of not just music, but reality TV with the Osbournes TV show. Like that was a massive thing too. And just to think of him as like the influence that he's been, despite the fact that I'm not like a massive fan, I still have a lot of respect for what he meant to the music industry.
Yeah, I mean, he's around that era of, the Motley Crues, the Kiss, Poison, or all those, Skid Row and Metallica. What's unique about Ozzy is he never changed his to the generational music. Like he always was just Ozzy.
Yeah.
And he never kind of pivoted into a different sound, which a lot of bands kind of did to try to, please the generation of music that was happening at that time. And, it's so weird how this all happened. I just got back from a tour, and last night, or was yesterday, the 2 days ago, I was rewatching actually the Osbournes. I mean, I remember in high school, I used to love MTV, like with the TRL and all the shows, like the Osbournes and Jackass and the Tom Green Show. Like that's the era I grew up on of MTV, just in slightly some music that was being played on it still. But I loved. I mean, I think they are the first celebrity family that was really let in from the public eye, and you got to see a different a viewpoint of him. Because before that, it was more like, oh, you see this person that supposedly bites heads off of bats, and he's like Satan like kind of guy. But
Prince
then
of Darkness.
but when you watch the show, it's like he's like the most loving father, just a normal guy, just trying to just do fun things with his kids when he's home, kind of thing. So I thought that was so cool. That really brought a cool insight of like really truly who he was. So yeah, I think he was a big pop culture icon almost, as big as pretty much, I don't know, you want to say like Ric Flair. Like Ric Flair as a wrestler, he's very iconic, pop culture. I mean, Ric Flair influenced the whole rap game and, the bling and all that kind of thing too. So, I mean, it's really a sad thing, but it's, I'm so glad that he was able to have the strength enough to go and go back home and put on that concert. And I don't know if a lot of people are aware, but he raised $190 million for charity in Parkinson's with that concert he did back home in England. So, it's just, I guess he couldn't have gone out in a better way of knowing that, like, hey, his time was coming. And, he went out with a bang. He went out with what he did for 50 plus years is being on stage and sharing his music with others.
And I have no confirmation of this mathematically, but I heard yesterday that that's the single largest one-day charity music thing that has ever happened, bigger than Farm Aid was back in the 80s. So like that, that's a pretty good way to say goodbye, and a pretty cool story, and obviously a massive influence. And you mentioned Metallica. I love Metallica. Yeah. I don't spend a lot of time listening to Metallica right now, but I love.
Have you seen them live?
Oh God, yeah, a lot.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, right, cool.
I love them. They don't exist without Sabbath. So I can't say I don't like Sabbath. I could say I never got into Sabbath. It's not that I dislike them. I just never got there. But bands that I love got there because of that. And, Tommy Lee got there because of Sabbath. And then you got there because of Tommy Lee. So, like, it all connects back to the influences. So you can't really separate it, which is what makes the whole thing super interesting. Dave, anything else you want to throw out there? My plan is to have you on pretty regularly between now and the tournament on September 29th. So whenever you've got any sort of an update, you've got some new part of it that you're adding to it, something new is opening up for people to register for or to sign up for, or whatever you got something, just text me and come on, and we'll do this again as often as you would like to help promote the tournament.
No, I really appreciate it, Brad, and I appreciate you doing this and you being part of this event. Like I said, the objective here is this. It's not just going to be a one-off. I plan on building it from here and being an annual event that just continues to get bigger and bigger. And like I said, there are some exciting things I can't confirm yet, but once I do, I'd love to share those events that are going to take place that day, especially with some certain people that might be involved in this event. So,
all right. Well, whenever you've got something to update, let me know and we'll do it. Dave, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Brad. Take it easy.
All right. You too. There's Dave Dombowski joining us live on the line. The event, again, is the Back Tee Golf Classic. It's an inaugural event, September 29th. Gowanada Country Club benefits the Spina Bifida Clinic at Oishei Children's Hospital. And backteegolfclassic.com is where you want to go for that. You can register. And again, unofficially, now that he's not on anymore, I can say the unofficial stuff that I believe, at least I'm planning on being a participant, playing in the tournament, and it'll be me and one person. I know who I have in mind. I hope he's available because he's a really good golfer, and I like hanging out with him. If you're listening, I think you know who you are. I'm not going to call you out. We're not going to do that. We may have already talked about your golf game on the show yesterday. We were talking about putting. We're going to try for that, but then it would be you bid to be the other pair in our foursome. And then we go play and meet a bunch of people and hang out and drink beer and play golf and raise money for charity. Silent auction items, all that stuff. All the stuff that happens. Hot dogs are always involved. You know how I feel about hot dogs.
Let's check in with Writer Radio's senior music correspondent, Josh Gregory.
Did you forget that we had an open for you? Did you forget that we had the big voice guy say your name? I bet you did. Bet you didn't expect that. Did you, Josh?
I appreciate it every time.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing excellent. How are you?
I'm good. So I don't know if you heard. The reason that I texted you and said, do you want to come on, is because when I was about to start the show, somebody wrote in and said, are we listening to nothing but Ozzy and Black Sabbath and stuff today? And I said, no, because I've never purchased Ozzy music. I saw him live once because I felt like, I should. But I've never I don't think I've ever intentionally listened to an Ozzy Osbourne song or the call ended. Well, now I have to call Josh back, which I'm not going to play another song to do it. It's just the call cut out. Let's just call him back. All right. Now I got to tell that story. Call ended again. Josh is calling me. All right. We got you back.
Yep, I don't know what happened there.
I don't either.
What are you gonna do?
All right.
Anyway,
so
continue, please.
The point is, I've never intentionally listened to Ozzy or Sabbath, despite the fact that I recognize the level of influence they have. And then even thinking back, 20 minutes ago, I'm talking to Dave Dombowski, who's a drummer, and he's like, yeah, the first concert I ever went to was Kiss. It's like, it's Kiss and Motley Crue, and there's no way that those bands are doing what they're doing without the influence of Sabbath. But it reminded me of you at one point saying we should do a thing about songs where the cover version is better than the original. And I thought that was a good idea, but nothing immediately came to mind except today when I was like, oh, I'm going to open the show with Faith No More doing War Pigs because I love Faith No More doing War Pigs, and I would never put on regular Sabbath War Pigs. So I think I actually have an answer, and that made me think, ooh, I can answer that question for Josh and then also get his thoughts on the passing of Ozzy Osbourne.
Well, perfect. Two birds with one stone, as it were. And my parents were very musically inclined and allowed me to listen to a lot of stuff. But one of the bands that was always in question that my mom did not like was Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
And with Miss, she never listened to it. She had no idea. And it's just, I don't use the word ignorance in a put down for her, but she had no idea, and so a friend of mine posted the other day about people not really understanding what certain songs were about, War Pigs being one of them. And, another one I threw in there was Hand of Doom, which then led me down to, another thing that Ozzy was known for was the trial in the 80s when a young man took his life and he happened to be listening to Suicide Solution by Ozzy, which was not a song about, telling a kid to kill himself. And what an impact that guy had on so many facets of society other than just the music that he did. There's a million bands that were influenced by Sabbath. And I would say, the later work that he did, solo career. But it's a legacy that whether you liked his music or not, you got to recognize what a part he played in not just, the musical realms, but from a business standpoint, when he did Ozfest, we happen to be talking about festivals too, not too long ago, about Horde Festival, etc. He gave an opening to so many other bands and what they wanted to bring to, to a musical platform. The guy was bigger than life, whether you like to say that or not. He truly was. And what a bummer, it's kind of neat that he went out a couple of weeks after he did, the reunion show. And, you can't say on his terms because that's certainly, I'm sure he would rather be alive. But wow, you know what I mean? What a life, what an impact he had, and what a legacy he leaves behind. You can't deny it.
It is crazy that I haven't thought about him in a while, and then suddenly everywhere I look, there's some clip from this show, the Back to the Beginning thing on July 5th. And so he's in the news constantly, and then he's dead. And it's that all in the last 2 weeks, I had thought about Ozzy never, and then I had him pop up or something he influenced pop up every day. And then yesterday in the car, like I was driving to pick up my kids from something, I had a text from someone with like a kind of a shady link. You know how sometimes when a celebrity dies, if TMZ's got it, I believe it. If, CNN or Fox or CBS, they've got it. But if it, Skynet News, one source.org, and it's like, I don't know about this. And then I got a text from my son. My 13-year-old son was the second person to send me a text. He's like, Ozzy's dead. And then he wrote, I think it might not be true. And then I got a text from Scott Wilson that said Ozzy was dead, and that's how I confirmed, because that's who I believe is Tim Graham, TMZ, and Scott Wilson are my three main news sources. And once he said it, then I knew it was true. But Ozzy was not in my face at all until a couple of weeks ago, and then he's been there the whole time, and then it's like, oh, and also now he's dead. And, obviously they knew. He was very sick for a while. Reading about it today, it's been going on for a long time between Parkinson's and a car crash and a fall where he broken neck and all this stuff. He's been dealing with a lot of stuff. But to have him, not go out on his own terms, but be able to get out there and do one last thing before it all ended, I think is awesome. And it raised $191 million, which is amazing too.
And, it's... Again, I just can't say enough about a legacy, but I think back to all of the stuff as a kid, Kiss with the makeup and Ozzy with, he bit the bat off a head, man. He's drinking blood on stage and thinking, none of that's true. And turns out a lot of it was real. And you know what I mean? It's like when I was a kid, I knew of Sabbath. I wasn't super into the solo stuff, but I knew it. Bark at the Moon was a huge hit, and all the Shot in the Dark and all that kind of stuff. But I remember that sticking out to me as this maniac.
Yeah.
And was this all for show? Was it the Alice Cooper, big theatrical stage show? And this was just a guy being himself, doing weird things that had such a lasting impact that was the thing that I think every kid in the 80s would have immediately said, I don't know any of the songs, but I knew he bit the head off a bat.
Sure. Yeah, and they were freaking out our parents in the 70s and 80s. It's no different from like what Two Live Crew ended up being, where it was just, this is the band that's on the news, and if they're on the news, they must be scary. So you'd better stay away from them. And, that was before my time. Like, I don't remember. I was never trying to listen to Ozzy while my parents were preventing me from doing it. But I definitely did go through that with Two Live Crew. I didn't even like Two Live Crew, but I came home the one day to find my Two Live Crew tape had been discovered and destroyed. It was laying in a pile on my dining room table. My mom might deny that she did this, but I know that she did it. You know how the tape. You know how much tape is in one of those cassettes, and it wasn't even like a store-bought copy. It was just a dubbed thing of As Nasty as They Want to Be. But As Nasty as They Want to Be was on the news constantly because of Tipper Gore and the PMRC and the parental advisory stickers and all the stuff that was going on then. Ozzy influenced that. If it was not for Ozzy, I don't think my mom would have ripped the 2 Live Crew tape apart in our family's dining room.
Yeah, and it was all that part of the satanic scare. The heavy metal music is going to warp our kids, and what better way? I look back at it and the people who were against it created so many sales.
Oh my God!
It's that whole right. I mean, it's as soon as you're told don't do that, well, yeah, I'm going to go do it. I could quote an Afghan Wigs lyric right there. Tell me not to get caught up with the devil. It's exactly what I'm going to do. and it just kills me that stuff got so far out of hand. And I'm sure at the time, as obviously with his drug and alcohol problems, he was aware enough to sit back and laugh and just say, yeah, thanks. This is making my career. This is buying me a new house in the south of England or whatever. But again, to be a part of that is, I'm sure, not something that he had on top of his resume, but he was such an influence on so many aspects of music and the theatrics and pushing the limits, like 2 Live Crew, right? Where these guys are going to say, yeah, we've got all these things that we want to say, whether they're not, they're political or whatever, like Public Enemy or NWA, but pushing the limits came from guys like that, and even further back with Zeppelin. What I think is interesting is they really kind of kept, and metal in general, kept a certain demographic out, which was what made it so cool to be in, a part of that. It was like being in a club, right? It's like, there's the metal guys over there and they're into that. It really kind of gave so many people a place to just explore their own ideas, explore their own music. And, he's got to be commended for that. And, a huge thanks to a pretty unique guy. And, again, not somebody that I was, into with the solo things, but everything else that he did, man, hats off to him.
Yeah, I never loved him and I never disliked him, and I liked him existing. It just never was quite for me, but it was for a lot of people who did things that were for me. And so that influence, you have to have respect for what went on there. And, specifically, like, Metallica does not exist without Sabbath. It just doesn't. And, how much of that is him? How much of that is, Tony Iommi? I don't know. He's a front man. There's so much there. And I appreciate it, despite the fact that I'm not, like, this massive fan. I still think it's a big deal. Did you? You must have. You probably did this with me. Have you seen The Decline of Western Civilization Part 2, The Metal Years? The documentary from 88?
Yes.
Okay. Because that was my first indication that things are not all great with Ozzy. And it was also a preview of the Osbournes, because it was Ozzy in his house, like, trying to make breakfast, but, like, the toast didn't go very well and the orange juice didn't really get in the glass. And he's just lost. And it's like, this guy's a space cadet. And it didn't even seem like he was messed up, like drunk or high. It was just like, this guy's a disaster. And to know that was 1988. And then he had the crash, and then he fell, and then he got Parkinson's. Like, all those things happened afterward, and he was still kicking until yesterday. So I'm impressed by that too. After seeing, I was as scared for him as I was for Chris Holmes of Wasp when he was floating in the pool, pouring the vodka on his face. Which, again, is the second time I brought this movie up today. If you have not seen it, find it. I don't know where you find it, but The Decline of the Western Civilization Part 2, The Metal Years, is mandatory viewing for anyone who cares about music and the history of it, because it's fantastic and crazy and totally worth it.
And Penelope Spheris, I don't know what she did or how she convinced those guys, because I loved Decline of Western Civilization, the first, the Part 1.
I've never seen the punk one.
It's that I know is on YouTube, and I don't know where else it is, but you can check it out. But obviously these people probably saw it as a way of publicizing what they were doing. But for someone like Ozzy, knowing in whatever plane he was on at that time that he's a little messed up, there's some things that are not going super, super great, to be that open, to have someone make a movie and share that with everybody, is either he did it without realizing what he was doing, but maybe I like to think that in his later years of saying, yeah, you know what, guys, the music business is not as amazing as you think it is. Maybe there's a lot of dark sides to it too. So hats off to him for being open to doing that. And hats off to Penelope Spheris for having that vision of showing that side, that it's not all chicks and parties and awesome stuff. You know, there's a pretty dark side to a lot of that stuff too.
Well, that whole movie is people telling you they're positive they're going to make it, and it's now been 40 years and they did not. Like, what's going to happen when you don't make it? Oh, I will. And it's just like, no, you won't. And, you know, they had big artists in there. You know, Ozzy's in there and Kiss is in there and Aerosmith's in there. But then there are all these, like, they're supposed to be up-and-comers, but none of them really turned into anything. Vixen was in it. They kind of turned into a thing for a little bit. But it's awesome, and it is on YouTube. I got to see if it's free or not, but I just found it, and it appears it's just going to start playing. So, yeah, free with ads. The Decline of Western Civilization, Part 2, The Metal Years, available for free on YouTube with ads. I highly recommend that. All right. Josh.
You know, it's amazing. Last thing I'll end with is it's amazing that he had the staying power to get to 76 with the way he was living, you know, because we see a lot of guys who don't get halfway there and unfortunately, you know, maybe bow out a little bit earlier than they had really planned. So for him to go through all the things that he did and do that last show after all the things he put his body through over the years, and then unfortunately with the things that he couldn't control, holy shit, man. What a story that guy's leaving behind.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Josh Gregory, our senior music correspondent, wherever we call you. Good to have you. Let's do it more often. I always say that, but whenever you've got a thought, jump in. Let's go.
You got it, man. Later, Gator.
All right. Thank you. There's Josh Gregory, our senior music correspondent, and I found the Ozzy part. I don't know if this is going to work with just audio because you won't see him pouring orange juice and missing the glass, but it's just Ozzy in like a leopard robe or something. I don't know what he's wearing. Hold on.
I want to go to one of your homes, but you didn't have one.
Yeah, that's a problem for us. Yeah, it's usually a restaurant or a bar. Yeah, well,
this is not it yet. It's coming next.
We show up and we're decked
You'll hear
out
Ozzy next.
Go, and you'll never know what happened. Where do they go?
Ozzy sometime in 87 or 88. That's not
Do you
him.
think about yourselves as rock stars?
No.
That's not him.
What's it like being a living
There's
legend?
Ozzy.
Kids out there think you've got a guitar.
All right, let me describe the scene right now. This is Ozzy Osbourne in like a leopard print robe. You only see his hands. You see a bowl that's got 2 eggs in it. He just put those there. There's also the open carton of eggs, which he apparently bought for $1.89, and a pack of Marlboro Reds and 2 hard boxes of matches as he's being interviewed in his kitchen.
You make a hit record and you make millions of dollars and you just live happily ever after. It isn't that way at all. It's like very hard work, very heartbreaking. You get your rewards and things. You do get a lot of things like gold disc, platinum disc, cars, houses, and then you got things like divorces, management rip-offs, fatigue, drugs, alcohol, hangovers, and you got to go on the next night. You've been up all night burning your bridges, and you got to go. Hi guys, it's good to be back on stage again. You're feeling like crap inside. Very often I ask them, what do they think I would be doing if I wasn't rock and roll? And I keep saying, my answer to that is I'd probably be in prison.
Just as it turns out, we end up having reality TV. But in 1988, watching this movie and seeing Ozzy Osbourne making breakfast was really crazy at the time, especially because he wasn't especially good at it. He's scrambling eggs. He's boiling water.
Why is that?
Let me go back there. That was a good answer. Sorry.
No, and I keep saying, my answer to that is I'd probably be in prison.
Why is that?
Because I didn't want to get a regular job. I couldn't conform to any system. I didn't want to get a job I had several jobs in factories and, different jobs. But rock and roll, it's got this sort of outlawish thing with it. You can do what you want, and you don't have to get up and listen to some big, fat, baldy old fart telling you to take this box and stick it over there,
So tell me about, what happened when all of a sudden you got rich and you could buy everything you wanted. And
well, what happened, it didn't work out exactly like
It's making bacon now.
We started to think we were like gods. All went out and bought fast cars and everything, but we had a manager. And because we came from the back streets of Birmingham, we didn't have much of a business education. We let him con us, as it was. We got ripped off for lots of money in the early days, but we didn't care. We were seeing America, we were having fun, screwing as many groupies as we could, smoking as much dope, getting just out of it in general, and basically having a good time. And that was the fun years, because until we suddenly realised one day, hey, we must be earning a lot more than this guy's actually giving us.
So it's not all
No, it's not.
a pretty story.
It's hard bloody work, and you've got to be a businessman, and I'm not a businessman, you know. I'm very fortunate to this day now. My wife is my manager. She knows the business, but I don't know the business side of rock and roll. I don't want to know it either. We came to America, and we thought like drugs and all that was just a part of the gig, you know. You know, you just get stoned and you just get fucked up, and that make you a gig and all that. And what happened with Black Sabbath? We all ended up junkies and alcoholics and everything. Like the drummer ended up in a rehabilitation centre. I did. For a while, and in the end, disaster happens. It's inevitable to happen, disaster, because it's like drugs. They were okay at the time, but we outgrew them, you know. We just, we took LSD, we took cocaine, we took vast amounts of marijuana. It was fun at the time, but then we.
All right, I want you to hear that part. That's the orange juice. I'm going to turn it up and see if you can hear how little orange juice is going in the class. It's a very 80s looking. I don't know what material that would be. Picture you'd have to be my age, like an outdoor picnic type of tablecloth. I don't know, like a gingham design, maybe? Is that the right word? But this is Ozzy Osbourne, who's a zillionaire and lives in, some palace. Not really. But whatever, he's in a nice house. His tablecloth looks like it's blue and white. You can picture it. That plasticky outside, the cloth underneath, not even cloth, like cotton underneath. Anyway, it's that, and then a glass of orange juice, and Ozzy opens a thing of orange juice, and maybe he's just not looking because he's looking at the camera or looking at the person interviewing him. He's not looking at the camera much. It's a straight documentary. So he's looking at the interviewer, who is Penelope Spheres. But see if you can hear, the ratio of orange juice going in the glass to the ratio of orange juice going next to the glass. We'll try it. We'll see if it works audio-wise.
This guy's actually giving us.
So it's not all
it's not.
a pretty story.
Right, this is the bacon part.
Work, and you've got to be a businessman.
I'm going to crank it up. You're going to hear him open the orange juice and then pour it.
I'm very fortunate to this day now. My wife is my manager. She knows the business, but I don't know the business side of rock and roll. I don't want to know it either. We came to America, and we thought like drugs and all that was just a part of the gig, you know.
Here we go.
You know, you just get stoned and you just get fucked up, and that make you a gig and all that. And what happened with Black Sabbath? We all ended up junkies and alcoholics and everything. Like the drummer ended up in a rehabilitation centre. I did for a while, and in the end, disaster happens. It's
pick up the orange juice, Ozzy.
It's inevitable.
Here it is. Pick it up. Listen.
Drugs.
Shaking.
They were okay at the time, but we outgrew them. You know, we just we took LSD, we took cocaine, we took vast amounts of marijuana. It was fun at the time, but then we all just sort of...
You can't tell from the audio. I would say 11% of the orange juice that he poured went into the glass. Oh, there's a good closing line there, too, that I talked right over.
Ended up junkies and alcoholics. Screw them, you know. We just, we took LSD, we took cocaine, we took vast amounts of marijuana. It was fun at the time, but then...
It's on the butter, it's on the bacon.
It's not a very good idea anymore.
So you have a more stable life now?
No.
All right, that's it. We'll stop for now. Josh mentioned an Afghan Wigs lyric. The song he's talking about is Honky's Ladder. We'll play that and wrap things up. I'll be back with you tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. I don't have a plan for Thursday yet. We do have 2 championship baseball games tonight. Oh, I do want to address the punk. Brad, anytime your Suns lose, it's a misinterpretation of the rules, controversy, or the umpires, LOL. No, I only mention it when that does happen. You would be surprised at how calm I am and how fair I am and how much I will allow for things that people are screaming about. I don't get bothered by. I get bothered by rules. Like, there's a rule. It's written right here. We have to use that rule. Can we please use the rule? I get bothered when a rule is not used. I don't argue balls and strikes. I don't argue safe and out. I argue logic. And mostly it's not even arguing. It's me muttering to my dad as I'm sitting next to him watching the game. I get opinionated sometimes, but only when I know I'm absolutely positively right and it's about rules and it's not about a judgment call. That won't happen to me. I'm not going to be getting ejected. I know I talked about the ejections the other day. That was just a crazy day. But I wasn't ejected. I had to come in because people were ejected. Good people who don't usually get ejected, but they did. No, I'm actually pretty good about accepting defeat. I'm a Buffalo guy. I'm used to second place or seventh. It's fine. Don't care. I just don't like when it ends stupidly. And when it ends stupidly, that's when I bring it up. So, I mean, I played. I didn't play any. But we're up to 50, 70, 80. We're up to 86 games played. And there have been like 4 of them. Like, I don't like how that one ended. And I've brought that up on the show. So it's not all the time. Most of the time, I'm fine. All right. We're going to play the Afghan Wig song Honky's Ladder and wrap things up. I'll be back with you tomorrow. Thanks for listening and sharing. Episode 128 is in the books of Writer Radio.